Alrighty, I was just running a few intros, looking through the Colosseum settings and stuff like that, because I really just plan on, streaming that video that I did, the ambience compilation, and yapping a little bit about the project through that, so I just wanted to get everything set up for that. Anyway, this Fantasy Stars stuff is dope, so I'll let this run one more time, but yeah, I'm just going to run that ambience compilation, that I put it at the end of the summer for Pokemon, which is going to be like the backbone of that big video that I've been promising since around that time, which, it took longer to even beat the games and get to the post-game with Mount Battle than I thought it would, let alone editing everything and then getting a giant video out on top of all that. So I just moved on to other stuff. I thought maybe by like December I should have some time, but wasn't as much time as I thought, and I wanted to rest up and do some other stuff, so that's mostly what I've been doing. And now we're going back to the speed run, and other stuff is coming up, so it's not really going to be anytime soon. But before that year mark, or at around that year mark, so what'll be like another, within probably like 5 or so months time, I should finally be able to get it out, start working on it and everything, but that's all part of me working a little less, but we'll get into that here in a sec. I just gotta get my Xbox back up and running. So let me just go ahead and throw that on and at least milk some views out of that. So I'll connect to my Xbox real quick. Thankfully I can just do this all through my phone, so I won't see comments for a second or so, but looks like that's good. Wrap this up real quick, and then I'll toggle back to my Xbox. And then I can log back onto my my shit here. There we go. Oh, shoot. Oh, not ads. Yeah, because I need to get my phone disconnected from it. Smart technology is pretty dumb sometimes. Alright, it looks like I got it going though. There we go. I don't know why this, why I keep saying the word heat. I don't know what about this makes the subtitles thinks it's doing that, but let me just run my audio over this real quick so I can hear how I'm coming in, and then I'm going to restart it properly. That sounds fine enough. But anyway, yeah, this is so this is that compilation video. Which itself was not that big video promised. But you know, everything you're seeing on the screen and whatnot, everything you're hearing music-wise, it was all just a natural byproduct of the abridgments, you know, which are on the series, the abridgments of the streams for each of the games. And because I was going to need this kind of structure for the video anyway, most of this footage is going to be the B-roll as you're seeing it for that video, with the backtrack being mostly the same. It's just going to be diminished with me talking over it, obviously. And then I'll edit in whatever video that I have to on top of it, but that was the general idea. And once I started getting to the point where like there was over 100 hours of footage that I was working with in my in the software, it was causing so much lagging and freezing to the point that I'd have to like restart my computer sometimes. It was so bad. I figured making this video its own thing would be for the best, because now I just have this video, you know, segmented on my computer as well. So instead of having like thousands of clips to work with that my computer's losing its mind trying to organize, I can just have this one video. So that's the main reason why I decided to make it anyway. But, you know, as you'll see, whether you were there for the stream or not, you can see just the rhythm of the gameplay. You can see effectively everything I did throughout these games anyway. And then a lot of segments will probably get cut down too. In particular, the part with like Gale of Darkness was very, very long. Much longer than it needed to be for everything, but yeah, here's all the early stuff, starting with Ruby, because of course that was the first in the lineup. And then it goes through the motions of Sapphire a little more briskly, all the while just highlighting the soundtrack. Which is all it really is, you know. My hope is that people will watch it whenever they want just like an hour of Pokemon music or sound effects to ignore in the background. But if you watch the whole thing, if you were there for the streams, if you watch the abridgments and all that, then it's a nice little thing to watch and be like, oh yeah, hey, look, it's that one part. I remember he calls that guy a dumb fuck or something, which is probably what I would do. Which all of this stuff was fun too, but it was so much packed into such a short amount of time. So much time streaming, you know. Look at how much I've been relaxing the last few weeks compared to 3 5-hour streams a week with Pokemon for like a couple months straight. That was god awful. And then yeah, I tried to rush into the Super Nintendo and Earthbound stuff, mainly because I knew for sure I wanted to stream Undertale in October. Maybe not specifically for Halloween, but definitely in that month. And I figured the best way to lead into it would be with Earthbound out of that Super Nintendo series, which was an easy thing to do because I could just watch a bunch of intros and clip them for shorts and such. A lot of which did pretty successful as far as like my shorts at this point in time go, so it worked out, as did the Undertale stuff. My new, now highest viewed short is, you know, just one where I clip myself doing the naming Easter eggs on Undertale. Like 30,000 views, which that's pretty cool. More than anything, Pokemon got me. And yeah, see, so stuff like this probably won't be as long, because I will probably spend time in the actual video. In terms of the segment, I probably will spend like the early chunks of the video doing like a microscopic retrospective piece, where I effectively do go everything as you're seeing it now, but it shouldn't run this long. Ruby should have been finished being talked about by now. So we'd probably already have moved on to talking about Colosseum, honestly, or we'd probably be wrapping up talking about Sapphire, because there's not a lot to talk about that isn't just the minor differences and then the few major story differences, like, you know, the role reversal of the bad guys and then the legendary. So I probably would have moved on to Colosseum, you know, around this point too. But again, that'll just be the introductory part, just because it is a big part of it as to how we did it, of course. Playing through the games, getting all the TMs, all the Pokemon, making the progress. So it's worth talking about, but out of like, say, I'm thinking of a maybe 70-ish, 60 to 70 minute long video, no more than like the first 18, 20 minutes tops should be, you know, specifically just retrospective stuff, just like, oh yeah, we do this and that, we fight Team Magma, the gym leaders, blah blah blah. The stuff you could see or just play for yourself. So as early as possible, while still separating the actual late game stuff itself, which for me would be that final process, which we'll see here. But you know, the process of catching and training all the Pokemon that would eventually be the things that got us Ho-Oh. That's for sure gonna be the end, and I'd like to wrap up a little more after that. Which I've done a few things since then. I did the shiny Regirock hunt. I tried breeding a shiny Charizard in my off time using shiny, or like RNG breeding, but it's not like it's any different. But you know, if you know how it works, you're just counting the number of seconds to track frames, and then on a certain frame, you're inputting the A button to get the Pokemon you want. It's not much different when you're doing it with breeding. But the main difference is that you have to do 2 to get your Pokemon. You've got to spawn your egg, and then... yeah, you've got to talk to the guy at the right time to spawn the right egg. Because it rolls once for the egg batch spawn. It spawns batches of eggs associated with a number. And then as part of the next... and then when you actually pick it up, right, it's re-rolling from a set of numbers within that batch, or correlating to that batch. And the thing that stopped me up is that I couldn't find a good way to determine what batch I had landed on. Usually, whenever you got Pokemon in a batch, the batches had more variety than the actual Pokemon within a batch. There were very, very discrete differences within a batch. But that was the thing that made it hard, because, you know, if there were a couple of similar batches of Pokemon, it was almost impossible to tell which batch you landed on if they were close together. And that's why I could never breed my shiny Charizard, because I couldn't figure out, you know, of all the possibilities that my Charizard could have been, depending on its stats and its hidden power, which, you know, I could reverse calculate its IVs with. It just did me no good. It didn't align with anything that it should have been. And there was always like 2 or 3 possibilities, so I never got it. I want to take a stab at it again. But... oh, and here's the end of Ruby. Yeah, pick right up into the Aqua music because that's going to be the main difference. It's the only difference up to that point, really. The main difference throughout the game, as you can see me highlighting here. But again, part of the way that we played through the series, you know, the way that I edited this also reflects how quickly we got through Sapphire because we did it in a single stream because we brought over the Pokemon we needed. Of course, there's always the issue of Pokemon being disobedient, but, you know, I've done stuff like this a lot since I was a kid, so I was already familiar with the tricks of, like, raising up a certain Pokemon or two. Because you can get by usually still with your starter, and as long as you bring an experience share or something with you, which is exactly what I did, you know, those Pokemon will get up real good, and you usually want to get up to like certain level caps. Because there's always those Pokemon that just kind of get left behind, the Pokemon that never really broke level 30 or that got stuck at level 30 or 40 something, while like the 3 main guys you got went up to like level 50 something, 60 something to the end game. Whenever you're playing through all the games in a set like I did, especially in Fire Red and Leaf Green, because I replayed through Fire Red the most, I was able to exploit that the most with it. Aerodactyl's a really good Pokemon. You teach Aerodactyl Fly and trade it over to a new file at level 5, that thing will get some shit done. And then yeah, once you get a certain badge, Pokemon up to level 30 or 50 or whatever are obedient to you, you can go and fetch out your level 32 Nidoking, or your level 28 Nidoking that you never, you know, kept fucking with, and like boom, all of a sudden, you got a Nidoking 4 levels stronger than everything. Oh yeah, and the houses are different. And yeah, see, I forget some of this stuff too, but this is all good refresher stuff. I can rewatch this and remember everything. I love Colosseum because they got a person in there. They hog-tied a girl and then just plopped her on the ground on some concrete. Named her Vegeta. Why would they do that? Why would whoever named that character Vegeta do that? And yeah, Colosseum was cool because it gave you all the Johto Pokemon. Not all of them, but, you know, Ruby and Sapphire, especially back in like 2003, 2004, whatever. I'm not too sure actually what year this game exactly came out. You'd figure I would be, but yeah, you didn't have access to most of the Johto Pokemon. The Johto starters you actually did from the beginning, because Ruby and Sapphire, if you complete their Pokedexes, you do actually get a choice of one of the Johto starters. But I believe that was it, outside of any Johtomon that might have made it into the newer Pokedex, you know, that were also Hoenmon, but I can't remember all that off the top of my head. And we came to the realization that Colosseum is just more stacked than anything, than it is actually really hard. It's not really harder than any other Pokemon game, it's just, or, you know, not more challenging, because it's the same system, it's just, they just love piling it on. Makes it very, very hard, very cumbersome. This first Mirror B battle, too, was a good example of that. All the Ludicolo's just diving and rain dishing and Giga Draining and Leech Seeding and Ingraining. Not to say that I've never ran a horrible team like that before, but especially in later generations. But yeah, this gave you up to the dogs. Entei, Suicune, Raikou. But yeah, that's the main thing. It's just the time I need for everything else. But again, that's why I'm, gonna cool it coming into the next year with the streaming. At least in terms of how frequently and how abundantly, and how substantially. Because when I do all the gameplay series stuff, like the Skyward Sword streams and stuff like that, that's stuff that I'm gonna have to review and edit and all this, just like I did Pokemon and all that. So if all I stream for extended periods of time, multiple times a week, is also stuff that I'm gonna have to spend just as long, if not more, editing, it's just ridiculous. So next year, most of the streaming that I do is gonna be, I don't want to call it, it's gonna be less substantial in that way. It'll be anything from games we've already played, right? Games like already in the register. I could touch back on Nightfire, Rogue Ops, any of the Pokemon games, any of the Sonic games that I've played, whatever I want to do. Or new stuff that I might not have bigger plans for, nothing I'd ever do like a review for, or like a bigger topic. Or something that could be summed up a little easier even if I did. That's pretty much what I mean. And even then, it'll probably be once or twice a week as opposed to 2 or 3 times a week, almost always 3 times a week. Always at least the 1 time a week, but only like a couple of times if I feel like it. That being said, if there's ever something that really catches my attention and I feel like streaming something daily, I might fuck around and do that too, but as far as the bigger experience of just like playing all the Gen 3 games to completion and then doing all this stuff after the fact for competitive reasons. Yeah, as far as this project went too, Colosseum was the hardest part, not only because of all the stuff I said earlier, how the game is just stacked against you, and the AI is really, really aggressive by comparison to the other ones. It's like playing through Fire Red if every single NPC did the same cheating bullshit that like the late game Battle Frontier NPCs did, where they literally just get like hacks on you. That is Colosseum. That's every battle in Colosseum. And that's why everyone says it's so hard. And yeah, Fire Red's easily my favorite. The one I'm the most nostalgic for. Still name the rival Gary. Don't even name him Blue. But whatever I was just saying about Colosseum, it was the hardest part, not only for that, but Ruby being a traditional game was a little bit easier, and then Sapphire got to benefit from it with the trading. But Colosseum and Gale of Darkness, they can't trade until they're done, so they kind of reset. So Colosseum was isolated, and then going into Fire Red, it was pretty much completely isolated once again. Because it can't really trade out of region until the game is complete and you have the national decks and all that stuff. But it could still technically trade with Leaf Green, so Leaf Green could still benefit from it. Beyond even just trading over Pokemon, right? Because you might not have been able to get Pokemon from different regions until you got the national decks. But if Fire Red can, then you can trade out of region Pokemon with say, egg moves that you wouldn't have had access to otherwise, or even just items that you got from other games, a Master Ball from Pokemon like Colosseum, for example, that could be traded to Fire Red first, and then anything that isn't an out-of-region Pokemon can effectively be traded through, being held by another Pokemon. So there was still a lot to benefit in that way. The experience share was the main way. I couldn't bring over any of the Pokemon from Ruby and Sapphire, like, the Beldum or the Shelgon that I had, but I could dump all of the experience shares that I had gotten up to that point from those 3 games. Although I think at that point I already lost one of the experience shares, the one from Colosseum, so wasn't too big of a deal, but still sucks. Yeah, there's still a lot I'd like to do with Pokemon in terms of, like, the RNG manipulation, and there's still all the Colosseum battles, just for bragging rights. I really just wanted Ho-Oh, but the thing I don't like about the Pokemon Colosseum one, though, is that most of the Colosseums are level 50, and they don't scale level. They don't scale up to you, nor do they scale you down. So if you don't have Pokemon that are exactly level 50 for it, well then you can't do it. So all the Pokemon that I had, which were level 59, they can't participate. It also means that pseudo-legendaries can't participate. Because, Dragonite and Tyranitar both... I guess Metagross and Salamence can, but the other 2 can't. You also wouldn't be able to use, like, Ho-Oh. You could use Lugia, though. Lugia, any of the birds, any of the dogs. Everything but Ho-Oh, Lugia, and Mewtwo, I guess. Or Ho-Oh, Rayquaza, and Mewtwo. But of course, there's a level 100 stadium that lets you do whatever you want. And then for that one, you have to be level 100. And yeah, the champion battle can still be pretty tough, but I mean, when you have Rain Dance Zapdos, it's got to be the single best, one of the singular best advantages you can have as far as the story mode goes. I would argue it probably is the single most outside of, you know, trading. Because of course, if you can trade over Mewtwo after Sabrina, which is exactly what we do for Leaf Green as well. Which you'll see that right here too once the Leaf Green part starts. And I like that little sound effect right there with the spinny part. That made me laugh a lot when I did that. Because that's the first thing I try to do, is make myself laugh. And that actually distracted me a little bit, but yeah, with Leaf Green, of course, we did do that as well. And you'll see that here in a second. We trade over back to Fire Red to level up our starter, and then have a high-leveled Blastoise from like early on. And then as early as we can, we trade over, you know, the previous guys that beat the Elite Four, and then we graduate to bringing up Mewtwo. And there's Rayquaza. Once you got the National Dex, which is necessary for Mewtwo, I had forgotten. I thought you could get Mewtwo and then do all the National Dex stuff, but nope. Legendary battle music. And after this, it should have been Emerald. But because it was going to be Hoenn again, I went ahead and did Gale of Darkness just to put it off to the end. And the Gale of Darkness part, like I said here, is the longest. More to work with though. I can whittle it down as needed, and then I'll probably throw in a few more extra parts. That'll give me more time to do stuff for it, which I might go out of my way to do that as well. Just because it's been so long anyway, and it's going to be that much longer. May as well. Yeah, may as well do other stuff that I'm bound to do anyway. Because I really want that shiny perfect Charizard. The one that I ended up like plotting, I've got it written down somewhere, the frame data and everything that I need to get it, so I wouldn't forget the process. But it's either completely perfect, or it's like lacking attack because it doesn't need it. And yeah, it was shiny. I forget what nature. It should have been up speed minus attack though. I always forget the actual nature it is though. And it was basically built the same way that the Charizard I used to get Ho-Oh was, but the main difference is that I was going to run it with... I was going to replace... I forgot what move I had on it. I think maybe Aerial Ace or something with a water type move, because I was going to mix it in with the rain as well. That way, in case Charizard ever had to come out in the rain, it could get the boosted water type hidden power. I think I said water pulse. It can't learn water pulse, but it can learn 70 power water. Or ghost was another option I had, which that's cool, but... Or I'm sorry, not ghost, dark. Hidden power flying is pretty good for Gyarados as well. Probably makes it one of the strongest flying type offensive moves. And Gale of Darkness got a lot more childish looking than Colosseum went with, but it's a lot cleaner, a lot smoother looking for sure. I do really love these games. I just wish they'd do more with them. I don't see why they can't just bring back these old games and then expand on them. I would rather have a massive world that wouldn't have to load and can do a bajillion things at the same time, versus a world where you could like zoom in and see somebody's pores. Like, that's cool and all, but how about like a literal million variables all acting at the same time effortlessly because it's running on a game that looks like this on an Xbox Series X or on a high-end PC or something. I think that would be great. I think that'd be cool. I think that'd be better than remasters and all this and that all the time. Give us Ocarina of Time again, literally exactly as it looked and functioned, and then just make it 100 times bigger, and then connect all the different loaded areas. But then again, I don't really know what goes into doing something like that, but yeah, once you there's not a whole lot to do in like Gale of Darkness especially. You can do the same thing, you can do map battle, but it doesn't even have like the external modes. There's like multiplayer function, but that's about it. Colosseum had the explicit Colosseum modes, which we can touch on eventually, hopefully. I'd have to breed new level 50 Pokemon for it. But if I ever get that shiny Charizard, I'll breed a whole bunch of other stuff alongside with it. Because I just need to do it right once. Once I figured it out and do it right, I'll be able to figure out where it is that I was going wrong. Because like I said, I can't tell what batch of eggs I land on when I do the RNG, so it's impossible to tell how far off I am in terms of, you know, am I half a second too late or too early? Is it like a frame or two too early? The Robo Legendaries were cool. I wish they would have made them like Pokemon. Even if they'd been doomed to be just standalone things for this game only, I would have been fine with that, just like Shadow Lugia. Yeah, it would have been cooler to be able to trade Shadow Lugia around, but either way, I think it's still cool that it exists. And technically it always stands out because it has Psycho Boost. So you always know it's a Shadow Lugia if it's packing Psycho Boost. Funny enough, I don't know if this has been changed or addressed, but I guess there was actually issue with that if there isn't still. You know, since Lugia can't technically learn Psycho Boost. When it came to like early adaptations of like Pokemon Home or Pokemon Box, I forgot which one it was. I think it's the newer one, Pokemon Home. They completely overlooked like Shadow Pokemon and the special moves that they had sometimes. Or at the very least they overlooked Lugia. So people weren't able to like move up their Shadow Lugias, at least not at first. Or it might have been one of those things where they made them have it forget Psycho Boost. I'm not sure, and it's just if they wanted to move it up at least. It could just be a way to nerf that unique meta. Because that makes for an incredibly distinct Pokemon. And see, we're already at the end phase of Gale of Darkness here, so. But it's still, it could have been significantly shorter, especially that middle part with like the desert and whatnot. Because this part still runs a few minutes. And I feel like Emerald's segment probably runs a little longer than it needs to as well. But yeah, I probably will do all those Colosseums at some point in the future. Maybe not the near future. Who knows, but... Because like I said, I want that Charizard, but there's also other additions I want to make to like this team that I had going. I'll probably stick with Shiftry, the shiny Charizard. I want to be just like the Charizard that I had. Which I know which was Sunny Day, Flamethrower, Outrage, and I think it was Aerial Ace. I forget what the fourth move was. Clearly it wasn't as important though. So that fourth move then I want to replace with Hidden Power, because the Charizard that I plotted out, the shiny one that I want to breed, has a 70 power water type Hidden Power. And of course, even if it's not a water type, even without Stab, Charizard's a good special offense, obviously. And even more so if it comes out in the rain with it. Which is the idea, is to have it mixed in with Zapdos and such still. Zapdos setting up the rain dance with Thunder, but then also having other Pokemon benefit from it, with the core of it being Ludicolo. Ludicolo with Rain Dish being able to benefit off the rain, with Dive to get that water boosted damage, Solar Beam to spam in the sunlight, as well as Fire Punch from the Battle Frontier tutor. Was that even all 4 moves? And no, there's still room for a move there. But yeah, I could do the whole stall thing. I could run probably like an Ingrain or a Leech Seed or something. And then surrounding that could be anything from the Pokemon I was already running. Things like Gyarados, or even Salamence still. But most likely it'll be things like Shiftry. Shiftry might still make the cut. Otherwise, I'd probably want to lean more towards either Milotic or Lapras. Most likely Milotic, which I still gotta find Feebas. Never went out of my way to find Feebas on this one. And then as for the number 6 slot, I'm still not too sure. I've always been a fan of Slowking, and that would add that Psychic and that bulk to it. But if I ever get that shiny Charizard, I'll get a kick on breeding all those other guys too. Probably breed them all shiny as well, because it doesn't seem too much harder when it comes to breeding anyway. It seems like if you're breeding for perfect IVs just as well as... you know, shininess, it doesn't seem to be much of a longer process to just go for the shiny. So I might go for like a whole shiny team then, depending on how easy or difficult it ends up being to RNG manipulate for him. I don't really think I can call it RNG manipulation anyway, though. I'm just doing the frame stuff. Because there are ways to manipulate the RNG. Get way better results way faster by doing some other crazy shit, but I'm not too hip on all that, and I'm not willing to put in the extra effort to race the clock again to set up some other shit. Typically adds like another frame perfect input. You typically only want to do that when your alternative to that is waiting like, you know what I mean, 84 hours in between resets. Like, no bro, like just do the thing, and if you fuck it up 10 times, it still will have only been like 4 minutes. That's the sort of thing you want to do if you want like a very specific competitive grade shiny legendary. Right, like if you want a shiny Kyogre with perfect stats, you're gonna have to do like some actual RNG manipulation. If you don't want to literally be waiting dozens or hundreds of hours in between resets. But the difference is you usually have to save somewhere real specific and then go and perform a very specific interaction at a very specific time. So that's 1 frame perfect input. And then you have to go run off, race the time again to get to where you're needing to go, set up some other stuff, and then race a whole ass other timer based off that. Which, at that point, that's not too different from RNG breeding. It's dependent on the 2 frame perfect inputs, so. So yeah, at some point sooner than later, I'll probably stream myself trying to get that shiny Charmander again, but what that stream will most likely actually amount to is me breeding a couple of eggs and trying desperately to find out if I can figure out some way or another what actual egg I landed on. Because I haven't been able to figure it out, like I said. Not with breeding. I can do it with the regular old shiny hunting, that's easy. But that second roll makes it so much more complicated. And even then, both shinies that I caught, the Bagon, which you'll see footage of here in a little bit, and the Regirock from a few months ago, they're effectively the same Pokemon. They were caught on the same frame, and they have literally, I think, like the same IV spread and what is it? Nature. Which is just how that works. I could catch any Pokemon caught on that frame will be legendary. Or will be, I'm sorry, shiny. But if I wanted something better than that, especially something very highly specific, a specific hidden power, again, if I wouldn't want to be waiting multiple hours in between resets, I would have to do some sort of RNG manipulation. Which in the case of anything that isn't a legendary Pokemon, I feel like it would just be easier to do the shiny breeding. Because it requires the 2 inputs anyway. And you have a lot more control and variety with breeding. Because, you know, things like Outrage, which I have on my Charizard, that's an egg move. You gotta breed for that, so it's typically worth it. There's also Hydro Pump Salamence out there. You can breed Hydro Pump onto a Bagon, which that would make him pretty valuable for that team as well, too. If I hit him with Hydro Pump and Fire Blast, he could fit both weather rolls, get the boost, and then with a maxed out attack, he could still spam Earthquakes alongside Gyarados if I choose to keep Gyarados in the team. But so that would make the only new addition Ludicolo. Ludicolo would for sure be good, though. And yeah, like I said, see this Emerald segment, it's just this song for the most part. And then it runs a little bit long. But I threw in the Rayquaza cutscene, though, because that's always really nice to see. But as you can see, if you noticed at least, yeah, we just did the same thing with Emerald again, though. It was an easy enough thing to do because we could just trade over the same Pokemon. That Shiftry, for example, was the one from Gale of Darkness, which, just like I said with Leaf Green earlier, you can't actually trade with like out of region games. You can have any Pokemon from any region, I think, traded over. But until you beat the Elite Four, until you're in the Hall of Fame, you explicitly cannot trade with things that aren't the Hoenn region. So until you're in the Hall of Fame, Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald can only trade with Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald. But again, because Ruby and Sapphire were both Hall of Famed, I just traded that Shiftry from Gale of Darkness, holding, I think, Aerial Ace. I taught it Aerial Ace. And then moved it to Sapphire, or Ruby, I think, and then from Ruby to Emerald, and then it just cleaned house, because it was like one of the highest level Pokemon from all the runs. And I think Venusaur was still like a level or two higher. They were my two big grass types. I don't think anything else broke like 50 something, like high 50s. Because Zapdos and Charizard were both up there. Yeah, Salamence was 55, Metagross was 55. But that Metagross and Salamence are both the ones from Ruby. They had been riding an experience share all the way since back in Sapphire. And then all the way through this game again, finally evolving into Metagross and Salamence in this game. And so that did it for the stories. That's all 7 games beat. So then I wrapped up some stuff on Colosseum. I did the Ore Colosseum on Gale of Darkness. And then, I still had to catch like Suicune and stuff. The main reason I did this though was because I needed the experience share, or the lucky egg, I mean. Because, that saves a lot of time having the lucky egg. But the Ore Colosseum is actually pretty fucked up if you're not ready for it. But if you watched me do it during the stream, right, as you can see right now, these are the same Pokemon that you saw all the way up to this point. That's the Shiftry that we've been talking about. There's Venusaur, Charizard, and Zapdos from the Fire Red playthroughs. Venusaur actually didn't come from its own playthrough. I started Fire Red, traded Bulbasaur to Leaf Green, deleted Fire Red, started it again with Charizard, traded Bulbasaur over, and played it with both. So it's those two. It was Zapdos, and then of course the Metagross, and then whatever else was there. Flygon from Colosseum. Because that Colosseum Flygon got a lot of my good TMs because of how hard Colosseum was. It had like an earthquake and a flamethrower on it, so I just had to get them all to the same level. 67 is what Venusaur was, so I got them all up to Venusaur's level, and just having a competent team of high-leveled Pokemon was enough. They level match, so everybody was level 67, but people who say you need to like EV train and all this crazy stuff for the Ore Colosseum, I just don't think they're that good. But then after that, you have to do the weird Pokemon voice changer side quest, and then you finally get the lucky egg. Which with that, I came back to finally do the Under and get the high XP here. That Flygon and Zapdos both ended up being at like level 90 something by the end of all this stuff too. And yeah, Suicune and the Dive Ball, that's another option for it over my Milotic. I still have that Suicune. And then yeah, the final Time Flute, and then this final battle with Marmaduke or whatever his name is. Somek. You trying to Somek, bro? But yeah, Zapdos with Rain Dance and Thunder, that'll get you through pretty much, even if it's not super effective, you know what I mean? Just guaranteed back-to-back Thunders from a Zapdos. It's gonna kill you, you know? God forbid you don't actively resist or aren't immune to electricity. And then yeah, purifying them was a big part of it. And what you saw me doing there in the corner was massaging them, because based on their nature, some of them, you know, were purified faster through battling, some faster through walking, some faster through being called out of shadow mode or hyper mode. So I had to figure all that stuff out as I was doing it, and that took its own amount of time. Because you need for all 48 shadow Pokemon to be caught and purified. And right here you'll see the timer and that other window open because that was me catching that specific C dot. Quiet nature, and I forget what else, because it wasn't even like perfect IVs, but it was good enough IVs for the things that I wanted. Same thing with the Tripinch. None of these were perfect. I just wanted them all with like at least 1 or 2 perfect stats to really make use of them, and that was more than enough. Mind you, I argue that you don't even need to do that. It's just getting Pokemon of such a high quality guaranteed that I was able to just mash A through pretty much the whole 100 battle challenge. And then yeah, there's me going back to get myself a male Dratini so that I can evolve it into so that I can level it up all the way to 50, because Dratini learns Outrage at level 50. That way I can pass it on to the Charizard, so here we are at the whole process after RNG hunting the 2. So I took advantage and waited to complete, so yeah, or no, it's already done, so I'm just running through Mount Battle again, yeah. It took a few runs, but I also never did the full 100 trainer run on Gale of Darkness, which if you do, each time it gives you one of the Johto starters, and they each know their elemental Hyper Beam. So if you want, you know, like a Totodile with Hydro Cannon, that's how you do that. And then as for the breeding too, I just went for a good nature. I called it good enough for the Charizard to have a good nature and Outrage, because it's good dragon coverage. One thing that I did keep in mind explicitly, I would have probably gone this route anyway because it's a strategy that I enjoy, like the mixed weather and the, you know, because I like the weather effects like infinite free, or like the guaranteed thunders or the solar beams. I usually go that type of strategy anyway, but because I knew for a fact that I was going to have to go against Groudon and Kyogre separately in the 100 battle challenge in like those last 10 rounds, that was... I didn't really do it for that reason, but I was considering that the whole time. I was ready for them the entire time. Which you'll see that later on here too. As soon as that Groudon comes out, Solar Beam. As soon as Kyogre comes out, boom. And what you saw me doing there, resetting the game and all that, evolving into Gyarados. I had to evolve to Gyarados to find Hidden Power, or to teach it Hidden Power. There's the shiny Bagon we got. And then, you know, Hidden Power is how I've been figuring out what I landed on whenever I'm doing the frame hunting. Because normally you'd have to level up a bunch with rare candies or just through battle or whatever. But I got pretty good, once I got pretty good at the thing and I was pretty sure that I was hitting around the right spot, I would just use Hidden Power as a way to figure it out. Like, oh, well, it can only be this or that, and I would usually go off of the nature, so I was almost always right, so it ended up being pretty reliable. But that's the whole point of synchronizing the clock when you're doing that process. And then that Zapdos, the reason why I purified it is because that's the Shadow Zapdos from Gale of Darkness, which the birds on that game all know the move Extrasensory, which none of them can normally learn. If you just catch them normally on Fire Red or Leaf Green, Extrasensory is not in their learn set. And here's the Eevee training process, actually. Again, I didn't go out of my way to do it perfectly, I just wanted to make sure that I could max out a few stats. I wanted that max speed stat on Zapdos, 11 speed, 12 speed. And then I just wanted to make sure that, you know, my offensive Pokemon had good offenses, and that's about it. Because I didn't even have Pokerus, and it was just taking so long. And again, this was already like, whatever month I ended it, I think it was August. Yeah, because I did Super Nintendo stuff in September right after, so this was like 3 or 4 days till August ended, you know. And it was that last day, almost at midnight, that I finally actually finished streaming everything up to Ho-Oh. So that's why this Pokemon video is still gonna be a while. But again, you can click on the channel, click on the Ultimate Chow Experience video, and it's gonna be formatted pretty similarly to that. Right, it's not going to be like the Shadow the Hedgehog or Ocarina videos, which are both just like reviews. They have different tones. Shadow's a little more silly, but that's only because Shadow's more of a silly game than Ocarina of Time. Those are both more just straight up reviews. The Chow Experience stuff, that's a little more loose, you know. More conversational, more about the process, which is exactly what you're seeing right now. The final training of it, just getting the points for the items that I needed, which you'll see the final movesets here at the end. You'll see the base stat totals, you'll see the items and movesets. Having to get another flamethrower was a big pain too, because of all those 3 TMs, flamethrower, thunderbolt, and ice beam. Flamethrower is the only one that you get a single guaranteed one of in all of Gen 3. In Gale of Darkness, on the boat, there's a flamethrower in there, which I taught it to Flygon, the Flygon from Colosseum, in order to use it in the Ore Colosseum to get the Lucky Egg. And if you want another flamethrower, you have to buy one or play through Gale of Darkness again. Because you get Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald each give you, I think, a Thunderbolt and an Ice Beam. But for some reason they just don't give Flamethrower. Not even Fire Red and Leaf Green. So you'll see me here in a second, you know, do the gambling mini game to get coins. Or no, I sell all my nuggets, I think, on Leaf Green to get coins to trade for a flamethrower. Because I had to teach flamethrower to Flygon and Salamence. Charizard, of course, could thankfully learn it, but... And there's everyone up to their standard, basically. I had to prolong Nuzleaf's evolution so that it could also learn Extrasensory. Because Extrasensory can flinch. It's almost as strong as Psychic, and it has a residual flinching effect. So I got that King's Rock there a second ago. I slapped it on Zapdos with the Extrasensory, because it also has Sky Attack, which has a tutor on Gale of Darkness, and is the only way Zapdos can learn it. Zapdos and Articuno can't learn it, but Moltres can learn Sky Attack by level up for some reason. You'd think they all three would, but... Zapdos can learn it through a tutor though, so I taught it through tutor. And it doesn't say anything in its description, but... it can actually... it does flinch. It has a chance to flinch. So that doubles up with the, you know, King's Rock. Which Extrasensory also has a chance to flinch, plus King's Rock. Shiftry had Extrasensory to flinch on its own, plus Fake Out, which is guaranteed priority flinch, so... they played basically the core. As often as possible, I think I opened up Shiftry and Charizard? Or was it Shiftry and Flygon? Or was it Charizard and Flygon, I think? Well, Flygon Gyarados that time for some reason. These early battles, they're nothing. Mount Battle is really nothing until, like, Area 7 or 8. And even then, if you have competent Pokemon like the kind that I brought over here, you're not going to be able to... you're not going to notice. I should just skip to the end here in a second. Or towards the end, yeah, there's 80. I only lose one time, and you'll see that here in a little bit. just on some bullshit. It was horrible. And then yeah, Gyarados and Salamence were there basically just for Earthquake spam, because they both have really high attack, of course, and are both flying types. The Gyarados had an especially high attack, even compared to Salamence, and it was choice banded, so spamming that was just fucked up. But yeah, I could bring either Flygon or Shiftry out with Charizard, and he would shit he would shit out something. No, he would hit the Sunny Day. Yeah, that's where I lost, was to the Armaldo and the Latios. But yeah, I would just set up the Sunny Day every single time. If it was Shiftry for whatever reason, it would be going for the Fake Out, and then the Chlorophyll would hit after the Sunny Day, and I would double up speed and spam Solar Beam. Or I would spam Earthquakes with Flygon, and then also Solar Beams in the sun. And that's also, of course, why everybody had Flamethrower. Which Ludicolo can learn all the elemental punches in the Battle Frontier tutor. So it'll also be a good addition to this team, because if it happens to come out in the sun, it can not only spam Solar Beam, but it would also get a boosted, Fire Punch. And this is all just the end phase here, just the last few battles going up to the last dude, so the video's about over. Yeah, there's Jirachi too. But yeah, like I said, there's gonna be a lot more, casual nature to the streaming. It's not gonna be gameplay series stuff outside of a few times a year, like I said. And it's gonna be shorter streams, less times a week. But it's specifically so that I can, it's not just this video. It's this video and every other video that is long overdue, Ocarina of Time got its review piece, but Majora's Mask was just left out in the wind. It still just has its gameplay series. Shadow the Hedgehog got something just because I didn't want the Shadow the Hedgehog fans, which are literally like half of the subscriber base. I wanted to make sure that had some pretty new and relevant content. And that was the last thing I did. Everything else has been streaming or gameplay series. So Majora's Mask can finally get its stuff. I'll eventually catch up to the GameCube Zeldas and Skyward Sword. Syphonfilter doesn't even have a whole lot of topics. Even this next year, this next January, coming up in a few days, it's just going to be the speedrun aside from Omega Strain again. So it won't be until the year after that you'll see me really start trying to hit hard on some Syphonfilter topics, which there's a lot to talk about with the wacky story and the culture behind it being an espionage game, getting accused of being a, Metal Gear clone. And we'll run the intros for Gale of Darkness in this here in a second too, before I cut it out completely, but we're running at about the end here. But that'll give us more time to focus on it as time comes. But that's the whole point, though. I want to be able to get out at least a few of those videos next year. The way I was planning to on this one, I just severely underestimated just the time and the work that streaming and even just reviewing the footage would be. Especially since I started streaming, the nature of the sessions have gotten longer. Because there's usually an active audience, especially when it came to things like Wind Waker. Especially because I was having bigger crowds of up to a few hundred people sometimes. If I could get an extra hour of content in there, I was going for it. Because another hour to a few hundred people meant a few hundred hours on the channel, so. But recording stuff in the background means it'll be brisker, and streaming stuff that I know I don't have to edit means I can get away with doing a lot more varied stuff, and I can gab around a lot more. Because I normally don't get this conversational with streams if you've watched them either, because I always have to make sure that I get back to, you know, the topic at hand, like, oh shit, anyway, yeah, there's Ho-Oh, now let me ignore chat for like the next 10 minutes, right? Like, it's for the better of the content, it's for the sake of, you know, getting the series content out there good the way that I need it to. But it's better for a stream if I'm just focused on the stream itself. And there's more games that are, you know, welcome to the format that I want to try. A lot of these crazy looking indie games on PC and stuff, for example. With luck, especially if I can ever start bringing in money from the channel, I want to be able to upgrade my internet and my computer and stuff like that so that I can stream in HD. I don't like having to compromise and stream in lower quality, especially because it means that I can't stream anything modern without it looking like ass. Fantasy Life didn't look too bad, especially once I put a border on it. But, which actually I'll probably just go with that. Fuck the Wii U, I forgot I had Fantasy Life loaded. But you know, I'd love to stream something like Armored Core, but it looks so good. And for it to be butchered so badly with a 30 FPS, you know, shitty frame rate. Oh, and yeah, hey look, there's the new Twilight Princess video. It's finished uploading. Oh, I didn't save. Just catch a fish like this, Link. It's crazy, that's just... It's just me twice.
Fucking swim strats.
But anyway, yeah, if you've been waiting like the last couple of weeks for the rest of fucking Twilight Princess, here's the last of it comprised of like just a couple hours. So it ended up being like an hour longer than Wind Waker. Wind Waker was one upload, but it was like 3 hours and something. Between the two of these, it was like 4.5 hours. So not a whole lot longer. Oh, what? It's totally been more than 2 minutes. Anyway, yeah, that's why I do it like this, because it helps to compensate for this
Can we talk?
diminished background, or, you know, quality, I should say. This is what I've been doing for the most part, though. I recorded a good lot of this when I first started. But, you know, once I got most of the early story stuff out of the way, there wasn't much point to record it. And it's nice. It's the first time I've gotten so into a video game and not,
I'm worried about
you know, not had to worry about recording it or talking over it or nothing.
this is for you.
I might yap to myself about it, sure, but that's completely different. It's also probably why I've been able to rack up over 100 hours already just playing it in the background. Yeah, like 130. I've only had this game for like a couple of weeks, but it's also, you know what I mean, a lot of those hours come from me just doing stuff like this for like 20 or 30 minutes at a time, maybe once or twice a day. At least an hour a day that way. But for sure, like those first 48 hours came in bulk. Those all came in like a day or two. Well, obviously not a day or two, because that's more than a day or two, but... fun game though, a lot of stuff to do. If you didn't see me stream about it just like a couple of days ago, we recently got a bunch of content for it.
Here, use this.
It does irritate me a little bit because I don't know if it's still on sale, but it recently did go on sale. You know, just like within this last
For you.
week, you know, for Christmas, I guess. And I waited until Black Friday, even a couple weeks after, to finally get this game because it hadn't gone on sale since it released in the summer. And then it fucking went on sale. It wasn't like a massive sale, but still, I could have got it for 15 bucks cheaper. It was enough incentive for a friend of mine to get it though, so I guess that's good.
This is for you.
If it's anything like the original on 3DS from like over a decade ago though now, or about a decade ago, we should eventually get like a big paid DLC. Hopefully at least adding another map. I would want at least another map this size. Right, because there's the past, but this is just like one big dungeon. And then this is just like your Animal Crossing town. And then the past, you know, this is a variety of places, but it's not too big once you know, get its layout. This place is especially small. But this place is pretty big. This is supposed to be like the Breath of the Wild looking area. It's all interconnected. I'd like a new map at least that size. And then something to break like the rank system.
This is for you.
Because each of your lives, which are like your classes, they go up to a certain rank. Right now they go up to hero rank, but in the original, the DLC broke the rank up to creator, so I'm hoping we'll get a creator rank eventually.
This is for you. Here, use this.
Once you've beaten the story, it makes for good, like, repeat, you know, idle play. It just takes a lot of time and investment, especially if you want to do everything regarding, like, every aspect of it. We did just recently get an update, though, with, like, they call it a new map, but it's not really a new map. They just took this map and, you know, changed it up. It's like a Dreamland version of it now. And they turned it into like a roguelike thing. Which, fuck it, I'll run some of this. It was pretty fun. I only ran it the one time. And then at the end of it, you know, you trade goods and get whatever else you get. Collectible items and such. But still, I was hoping for an honest-to-goodness new map. That is one fine hoe. Oh, I forgot that this was a sick-ass song, too, though. But yeah, that's the plan for next year, is to shift more focus production-wise into the actual editing and scripting and such. And then, you know, isolate the streaming process as much as possible from the gameplay series. The only thing that worries me is that, you know, I'm worried of like the offhand game that maybe coulda, woulda, shoulda brought in a big audience live that otherwise might not, or that might fail as like an abridged series. But at the same time, you know, it's not like that's a very common thing, and it's hard for me to kind of predict what will or won't attract that sort of audience. Douglas? Who put him here? A plate of trip cake? You want to get high? This is that shit that Ness ate on Earthbound. Took an edible and had a whole ass vision of being a oriental child up in the mountains, getting his limbs ripped off by a spirit and his mind devastated. That shit's insane. That game is nonsense. So to that end, you can expect a lot of the same flow in terms of maybe like the shorts and the abridgments. I might even go back to like multi-part shorter abridgments, but it might depend on the game as well. Because I was already considering that before I started the whole streaming thing anyway, was ways to reformat the series in terms of uploads. But then as I started streaming, I was like, well, if I'm streaming in so many parts, maybe it doesn't make as much sense to also, you know, upload in multiple parts. But I just don't like uploading, you know, like 5 or 6 hour long videos for stuff. Anyway, getting caught up reading these effects. Did I not do 3 like earlier though? Hold on. I do enjoy this music. No, but... What the fuck? Oh. Am I gonna blow up? Why did they do this to me? I'm digging this bomb music at least, but I'm not sure what's happening. No one's blowing up and I'm not passing it to him. Oh, good. Oh. Oh, it's because that dude's still close to me. But yeah, I just don't really like the idea of dropping like a singular 6 or 7 hour long upload. But especially for people who don't like ads, it's definitely more appealing to have a lower chance of, you know, YouTube spamming you with ads if it's just one big long video. So I started doing more of that. What the fuck? Shin Megami Tensei demon. Help, I can't beat the Sultan's toilet in Shin Megami Tensei 5. Oh, you gotta flush it. Ah, damn, of course. But now that I'll be recording some stuff, for example, everything that I recorded for Fantasy Life, which will for sure be a gameplay series thing. You know, that'll probably come out more episodically too, because there is no stream already covering it. I have played it on stream, but it's all been on this completed file already. The thing too, though, is that I did not... Huh. Yeah, the thing is, though, is that I didn't do commentary over it. Which is a first. Trip really has good comedic sense the way those wings flare when he says, "Hey." Funny or serious? I'm pretty funny. I'm seriously funny, bro. How about that? Ooh. And those are only good here. Of course, everything here is only good here, though. Quite literally. There's nothing that can, you know, be kept. Oh, shit. I remember this time. You can tear down trees, you can kill enemies, destroy ores. Damn. Damn. I didn't mean to do it right there. So yeah, I'm not too sure how I'll end up doing the Fantasy Life stuff. What I'm thinking about doing sack of copper is, you know, editing it down in the usual way without my commentary to get in the way of it, so only like, right, editing it based only on footage. And then once I've got that, maybe, you know, streaming that compiled and then just getting an idea of what I might say over it. and then working that into something. The nightmare crystals would do it. I think that's all these are good for anyway. See, I can't even make shit like this yet. Like in the actual game itself. I'm not only not as good of a blacksmith to make it, but you gotta find recipes for shit. Oh, dude, this is my favorite Crumb song. Hello? Oh. Keep that dude just locked right there. And yeah, that's what's cool about this is, you know, you've got different lives. In the original, you couldn't just flip-flop, and I kind of miss that. For a game that's already so easy, I felt like that added a little, you know, a little bit of actual challenge to it because it made you dedicate to one life or the other. And if it wasn't a combat life and you found yourself getting caught up in some combat trying to do something else, you know, you might be fucked. Oh, I can do it. What the fuck? They wouldn't let me go that way. Ah, there was something over there too. Oh, and something over here. So yeah, despite everything I've done, there's still so much to do. So I still have, my main life now is mercenary as far as combat goes, and then I did a lot of hunter too. Neither one is complete in terms of yeah, as far as like their quest progress or anything like that goes. And none of my lives are max leveled, but you know, I haven't even started like the magician or the wizard or paladin lives. Where do I catch fish? Oh. Like I said, there's a lot to talk about with Syphonfilter, but to that end, I'd like to save more of that for the dedicated month stuff. And we're just about running out of Syphonfilter games to play properly anyway. I've already got the PS3 or the PS1 trilogy on the channel. Omega Strains next month. And then I plan on doing the final 2 on the PSP next year, or the year after. That's the scariest fish I've ever seen. Well, another big fish didn't show up. There's one down there. But at the very least, for sure, within this year, the Pokemon stuff and at least Majora's Mask. I don't know what to say about the other Zeldas. Maybe, maybe not. I mean, I want to kill that thing, but I'm kind of dying here. At least it doesn't kill you while you're looking at stuff. I gotta fucking go though. Oh, sweet. Oh, fragile figure, 1/8 scale. Nice. Oh, there's two. There it is. Man, those things really fuck you up. Fucking nightmare meat. Good lord. Oh no. I got one of these just before I started playing, actually, before I started streaming. $800 and up. I don't even got followers. They probably wanted me packing at least one buddy. But yeah, if you're looking forward to all that nonsense I was talking about, all the more deeply planned, scripted stuff, or if you've been looking forward to it, waiting for it this whole time already, you know, your time's coming. It's the way the channel's always been supposed to be and been wanting to go anyway, but, you know, streaming did me good this year, so I stuck with it. Drink some water and kill this boss, find one or two more things to say, and otherwise click on the description, check out the Syphonfilter thing, and I plan on doing a similar stream on New Year's. Because I work that night as it is, people are going to be up. So I'm going to do the same thing I did today, you know, stream that compilation video that I had, but I'm going to stream the speedrun instead, and I'm going to yap a little bit over that, you know, a little more in-depth as to what's actually going on in the speed run. But then I'll also get sidetracked and just talk about what I'll be doing in the month to come as it stands. But that's basically it. When I'm not streaming the Omega Strain, I'll be streaming the speed run. Oh my god. Get the fuck away from me. He gravitated towards me. Jeez. As you can see, this game's not entirely easy. Just can't do shit about that. Should have gotten a buddy or two just to distract from the damage. It's probably always easiest to go with like Wizard or Hunter because you can stay away. I wonder if I still get to shop. I just get less spoils. Oh yeah, that one got me a lot. And yeah, we already determined that these were better. Well, yeah, it's worth double for only like 30% more. Ooh. Kinda want some trees. I also need these though for certain legendary equipments. I can only get one though. Let me look up what my pickaxe needs. I wish they'd let you see here. Because they all require one of these Dawn something or other pieces. Yeah, it needs the legendary Dawn horn. There's also like the shiny diamond or something, but I don't know if that's something that I get here somewhere else. so I may as well. I could still get 6 trees or 3 XP spheres. I don't even think I used the ones I got, yeah. My town still got a lot of work too, so... My base camp, I mean. And it was only worth getting the sack of silver. Because these sell for 500, these sell for 1,000, but these only sell for 3,000. So 1 sack of gold, we can buy 1 sack of gold and get 3,000, or 5 sacks of silver and get 5,000. Yeah, do not buy the gold ones. They need to just take that off or correct the price. They need to make them 3,000. What ultra rare item? Oh yeah, gold clusters. I got that last time. But I can't even make most of this shit yet. I'll probably want the shiny diamonds. Oh, I guess I should have checked how many it took. I don't think I even noticed. Oh, it only took 1, and then it takes the 3 shiny diamonds, so I'm good. But then it takes the Elder Dark Wood, Dark Stone. I can get those out in the, Yeah, it's not even this stuff here. And I'm not too sure what Gleamstones do, but I can't afford it anyway. And these don't transfer, you don't get to save anything, so there's no point in, like, you gotta spend everything. So that should actually set me up real nice. These allow you to, like, re-roll items if you want to, like, recraft an item that you've got for a different effect or quality. But it's easy enough to get these outside of here too, so I think I'm just gonna get... get those. So that's always fun and rewarding. It's my house over yonder. There's fucking people up on my patio, bro. Can't stand it. Yeah, you can see what I'm trying to go for, but right now I've got that's the corner I'm working on first with my house, and then everything else is just fucking jammed into this side. And even then it takes a long ass time to unlock stuff. Here's another game mode in here. This is almost like a roguelite sort of thing too. If that's a roguelike, then this is a roguelite with a T, you know. Randomly generated dungeons, but you know, it's nothing like how we have now. You go in there with the equipment you've got. See if I can even make anything with the stuff I got. So that did it with this. I also have a flask I can make, though. Oh no, I don't have the flask recipe. Damn, that's like my main life too. I don't know if I can make this though. They shouldn't take any of my rare materials if I fuck it up. I sure hope they don't. And all these lives, you know, feed into each other. You want to be able to, you know, get into the cooking life, because cooking meals gives you all kinds of perks. I don't have anything to boost crafting though, and I don't have... I'm not really one for cooking in this game either.
Nice to see ya.
No.
Need something from Polo? Well, come.
This is where you'd go online. Not gonna worry about that now. Which I might stream a lot of Fantasy Life next year too.
Have a look-see.
You know, again, just as a constant, without the gameplay series getting in the way. Because I can just do stuff like this, you know. Damn.
Need something, eh? Come back soon.
Yeah, so there really is a whole lot to do. There is food and stuff for, you know, buffing blacksmithing. But yeah, say for example I were to make this right now and I, you know, don't nail it in one. Or I just don't get the skill I want and I don't get like the supreme quality. Shit. You know, I can use one of those redux stones and try it again later. You know, like the name implies. You're just redoing it. I might just barely cut it looks like. Oh, not if I do that. I'm also not good enough friends, I guess, with the white-haired guy. Fucking Solid Snake. In order for him to get his special meter going. Damn, I should have waited to use it on that one. And then it would have done these next two for me, too. Looks like I made it. But it's definitely no, like, extra quality or anything. It's probably still better than what I have. Oh, and it's just legendary rank on its own. And yeah, in order to find these recipes, they're just scattered throughout that gigantic map that I was showing you. I thought I'd found all of them, but... Ooh, so it still takes me up 83 points. And I've got sweet spot damage. Versus this one, which only has plus 10 mining, and it's still 80 short. I wonder why I was running that over any of this other stuff. That is good, though. Oh, I forgot to equip my... You get these whenever you master your life, you know, and they boost the relevant thing. So that does ya. I should have something similar for alchemy. I must still have quests to do for alchemy. Oh, I totally do. Yeah, so once you get the hero rank, you get all that stuff that makes it even easier. But yeah, if you go to this big old map, this is where they're all found. Like I said, I thought I found the one. I thought I found them all, but I didn't realize one was still missing. Which I may as well test this thing out. I still have gathering up from the last time I used it. I guess I haven't done anything with it.
Can we talk?
I think there's some kind of boss. I know for sure there is because they teased it when they showed off this area at the beginning of the game. There's like a T-Rex that spawns here, but
Yes.
I haven't ranked up the area enough for it too. Like this only started spawning, you know, for me today. Because I ranked up this area enough. It's rank 5 out of 7, and this is the only one I've ranked up this much. I ranked up this first area to like 3, 2, and then everything else is still rank 1. To rank it up, you have to, you know, do things within this area. And so on and so forth, so it's a massive gameplay loop.
I've got your back, honey.
Yeah, I gotta find the alchemy of time, or the flask of time.
I'm worried about you. I'm worried about you.
Between the two, I guess it makes a pretty big difference from what I was doing before I started streaming earlier. But yeah, that was all it. Thanks for hanging around for the fantasy life on top of that. You can expect stuff like this. As I've said, Risk of Rain tends to do well. The Chow Garden's another thing on top of everything else that we've already done. And then if we ever get to the point where I start taking people's money, you know, that could be my excuse to take recommendations and all that. but still at least 1 or 2 gameplay streams a year, and then
I'm
like
worried about you.
2 to 4 games played in the background. Probably on the shorter end at that.
Here, use this.
And our year runs into
I'm
January,
worried about you.
so Syphonfilter still technically falls into this year for me. This year of production, at least. So you'll still get Syphonfilter in that way. I'll do like 2 extended streams a week for the Omega strain, and then everything else that I stream will be the speedrun. That last week in particular, just like this last year, I'm going to try to get a good few days off in a row so that I can just commit to it towards the end of the month. Towards the channel's year end, you know.
Just put your heart into it.
Here, use this.
So it still takes a while to get this one because it's 15 levels ahead of me, but
I'm worried about you.
Just put your heart into it.
so yeah, it's just doing stuff like that or killing enemies or whatever else is around here. This is the only map of the 3 that's interconnected, though. There are caves and areas, for sure. And some of them are pretty well hidden. I only found this one recently as I was trying to, you know, find all the shrines. And then I deduced that, you know, the shrine must be in here. Which, yeah, that's where it was. Yeah, it's got shrines like Breath of the Wild. It's got caves all over the place. And then in this dungeon here, Fort Guardheart, there's these shadow monsters that you have to farm to get an item called Dark Flames that work back in this overworld, because almost every area in this overworld as you were progressing through the story, this should be one of them, I think. Yeah, we're sealed. So you need like 20 to 30 plus Dark Flames per each of these areas to get to something here. So like there's a lot to do, like I said. And this is all pre-DLC. There is free DLC content coming that we haven't gotten all the way. But I don't know when that's actually going to be out yet, or if it's going to be completely free or what, but yeah, come back around if I don't stream tomorrow, I will post on my home feed about it, and as for tomorrow's stream, or to stream the day after. I'll stream either tomorrow or the day after, but if I don't, I will post for sure on the channel when I will stream tomorrow, and I'll have it scheduled up and everything. I don't know what I'm going to do for sure, though. On New Year's, I'm going to stream the Syphonfilter speedrun, my submission that I have. I'm not going to speedrun it myself again, but to ease us into January and Syphonfilter, I'm going to stream that, yap over like the strats and, you know, what I was doing. But I'll give it some thought over the next, like, you know, 12 or 18 hours. It won't be anything too major, and it might even just be a shuffle of things that devolves back into some more fantasy life, but I was also thinking about picking up Skyrim again, that same file from last year, and going through the trouble of getting the boots of water walking. I never like doing that part because you have to go all the way to Solstheim, and then you have to do this weird-ass quest chain. You have to go down and find this one dark elf digging all those caverns up in different locations, and then you have to like fund them for each expedition. And it's not until I think like the third one that you have to progress through all the way through that you finally find Asadal's Boots of Water walking. But if you watched all that stuff, which there's shorts for it and there's a supercut on my videos tab if you scroll like less than a dozen videos down, I think. You know, with all that super speed stuff, if you pair being able to run on water with it, you know, you just fucking zip around through Skyrim like the Flash. And there's weird water physics. If you jump off of water, it gives you like bounce and fall damage immunity. I figured that out while fucking around, and so high up waterfalls make for really good ramp off points, because if you bounce off a surface of water, right, if you hit like a rock and technically, right, like touch a surface and then jump off, you're kind of fucked. But as long as you make sure to do it off a part that's fully water, you can clear like a whole ass 3 or 4 towns worth of Skyrim just flying through the air. And then when you land, you'll be perfectly fine so long as you jumped off water. And now that I said all that and got so invested in it, that is probably what I'll do in the next couple of days. So if you don't see that tomorrow, you'll see a post about it one way or the other. You'll either see it scheduled, and then you'll see me saying, hey, I'm going to stream, you know, Skyrim tonight for like maybe 2 or 3 hours, however long it takes to do all that. And then, if not, otherwise you'll see me post when I'll stream the next day. So if not tomorrow, the next day. And then the next stream after that will be on New Year's night, Thursday, going into Friday. And that's just going to be me, you know, because it's going to be a late night. People are going to be making noise. That's just going to be me hyping up the speed run and going over what I did during the speed run. So good stuff regardless. And then get ready for, after that, daily Syphonfilter speedrun content starts again. It'll be minimal most days, right? Like you'll catch it an early morning stream, something to the effect of like 9 hours ago. Whatever time that would have been for you. You might find me running either like a singular group of stages or just 1 or 2 stages, or you might see me running back like the same segment over and over and over again, trying to get like a perfect run for the sake of practice. And then one of those streams out of the week, maybe even more, for like a shorter segment of time, you might see me run extended segments, if not full attempts. But for the most part, it'll be really small stuff. And then on like my days off where I would stream, you know, for like 3 or 4 hours like I'm doing right now, that'll be taken up by the Omega Strain, which I'm going to try to edit immediately because I don't have anything else to edit anyway, so that I can get out the abridgments by the end of the month. And then that last week of, and then at least one night a week, I'll spend that same amount of time, about this amount of time, if not a little longer or a little less, on the speedrun. And then, like I said, that last week, as many days as possible, I'm going to try to commit to the speedrun just over the top and actually break those times, break into the top 5, break into the top 3 if I can. But you can expect that to be the next month, and after that, we'll see. I'm going to try to not think about it as much after that, but thanks again, and just keep an eye out for the next couple days.